Hello, it's Tamara, your Sacramento real estate professional and your Sacramento real estate professor. And I want to talk to you today about pricing your home, pricing your Sacramento home for sale. One of the things I will not do is take an overpriced listing. And I want you to understand this from an insider's perspective if you are a seller, so that you can get a better grasp on what I'm talking about. And this is something that I have taught my students at American River College for years, but it bears repeating. There are agents out there who will take a listing and price it at what the sellers say to price it at, even in light of the idea that the home's current market value is much less. I want you to understand this. A lot of agents who want the listing, or who are new, maybe they're really green and they don't know the market that well, or maybe they're just desperate for a listing. And if the comps say this home is worth 550, but the seller says, oh, I think it's worth 600, and the listing agent who's on an interview says, okay, well, we'll list it at whatever you want. The agent is thinking, one, I'm getting a listing, yahoo. Two, they're thinking, well, it's never going to sell for that, but we'll get offers and we'll negotiate something. They're not taking into consideration a couple of really important facts that I hope you do. Number one, a stale listing, like if it doesn't sell, a stale listing, people stop looking at it. It's like being on a dating app. You see the same house, you're just going to scroll past it. So it's doing sellers so much more damage, because you can go in and you can lower the price, but what perception does that plant in potential buyers' minds? It implants the perception of there's a problem with this property, so we've reduced the price. See, I am not a big fan of price reductions. In fact, I take it personal, as a personal assault on my own knowledge, if I have to do a price reduction. Why? Because I price my properties properly. Say that 5 times really fast. I price my properties properly the first time out. Now, it's important that you understand that this is the mistake that a lot of a lot of sellers and sellers agents make. So I want to be really clear on it. Even if I'm fumbling my words, I really want to make sure you get this. You may think as a seller, well, we can always do a price reduction if we need to. But I just shared with you the damage of doing a price reduction. It makes your property stale. It's like a Kmart special. We've already seen it, or the price is reduced, something must be wrong with it. So you don't want to do a reduction unless you really, really need to. And there are occasions when it's warranted. But here's the thing. Sellers have to recognize buyers are the ones who set the value. They are. Why? Because it's what a buyer is willing to pay. And then once a buyer executes an offer on your property, and then the bank, in order for the bank to be in on the game, the bank that's going to lend them the money, they've got to make sure that it meets their criteria. And how does the bank do that? By sending out an appraiser. And what does the appraiser look at? He looks at the recent comps that are in that specific narrowed down neighborhood. And when those comps come back and they say, this property is probably, worth 550, 560, that's what you've got to price it at. Because if you are someone who says, no, I think it's worth 600, it'll bring 600 in. Even if it did bring in a $600 or $600,000 offer from a buyer who didn't have internet and look online and recognize that the value is not there, even if an offer did come in at 600,000, when the bank goes to send the appraiser out, the appraiser is going to look at the same papers I have in my hand, and they're going to say, no, that's not the current market value. And the bank's going to say, sorry, Mr. Buyer, not going to lend you this money because the property is the collateral and the value is not in the property. Does that make sense? It is so important that sellers understand that buyers set the price based on what they're willing to pay, but also on what the bank is willing to lend on. Because banks largely are still involved, especially in purchases that, get over 500,000. I'm not saying, I just had a cash close, so I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's not the norm. It's not the norm. So I want you to think really carefully about this. I don't care if you're in Sacramento or somewhere else. If you're thinking of listing your home and you have agents, and let's say you're doing the agent interview thing, which I'm not a fan of anyway. I don't go on agent interviews. I'll talk to you on the phone. We can have a Zoom conversation. If you want to list your house with me, trust me, I'm going to get you the best deal. And if you don't, that's fine. You go interview other agents. I'm totally fine with that. I only want to work with sellers who trust me. That is everything. That is the bedrock of my business, is working with people who trust me. And so listen, if I pull up comps on your property and I show up and I'm sitting at your kitchen table after I've toured your home, and I say to you, okay, according to the comps, the price range we're in is going to be this and this. And you say, I want this, and it's way out of there, I'm not your agent. Why? Because I know what's going to happen. I've been doing this so long, and the writing is on the wall. If you overprice your property is not going to sell, and it's going to get stale sitting on the market. Pretty soon, other agents aren't even going to want to work with the agent who listed your price or your property and overpriced it, because they say, oh, that was an agent who just overpriced a property in order to get the listing. And most of the time they're right, because the agent didn't say to you, this is not the right price. And one thing you've got to know, today's buyers are way more savvy and way more curious, and they know how to get online and they know how to look. And if the house across the street just sold for $500,000, they can go in and they can see how many days it was on the market and what the price per square foot is. And if your home is not in the same good condition or hasn't had the updates, it automatically lowers the value in the buyer's eyes. And if your house, or if the house that just sold across the street was on the market only 3 days, and yours has been sitting on the market for 2 months, there's your sign, right? So you've really, the most important thing you can do as a seller is to really make sure that you're working with an agent that you can trust. Because if you're working with an agent who's an expert in this area, in the area that you live in, who's got the skill and the experience and the negotiation background and backbone, then you should just be able to rest assured that that agent is going to get you the most money in the best time frame. And I don't always say in the shortest time frame, because sometimes sellers that I work with may be having a home built, or they're buying something else and they want it to be a longer escrow. So I never say the shortest, but I will tell you, I have my guarantee, your house sold in 29 days, or I give you $2,500 cash at the close. Okay, I stand by that. So far, knock on wood, I haven't had to pay it to anyone, but I sure would if I couldn't get an offer in that the seller accepted within those 29 days. Okay, but step one is you've got to price it according to the marketing comps. You've got to price it properly. If you don't, it's going to get old and stale, and we don't want that for you. So, call to action for you. Click on a link below. Let's set up a time to talk, and let me see if I can help you with your property. Okay, my goal is always to get you the most money possible. All right, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.